smash hit at the Melbourne fight clubs. He grabbed a fight with a South Korean slugger who held the IBF junior lightweight title and had the ominous name of Juan Kill You. No one gave the Aussie a chance. Juan Kill You was a rugged southpaw whose best weapon was the swinging headbutt.
I was a lot faster fighter anyway, and that's why I just kept it for the whole 15 rounds, in and out, and made it all good for him. I kept banging me in the head, and I think after fighting it with about 15 stitches or so, big gash on my cheek, 2 massive gashes, 3 gashes on top of my eye, so I was in a bit of a mess after the fight.
Ellis had won the most fierce fight of his young life, and it was a heady time. Kids painted the streets with his name. But the challenges to his place at the top were closing in fast. A year earlier, Fenech had lost controversially at the LA Olympics.
I made a promise to myself that if I couldn't win a gold medal, I'd win a world title.
The Fenech story had started in 1981 at the Newtown Police Boys Club. Johnny Lewis had been training fighters for 20 years when in walked Fenech. Lewis liked what he saw.
I did mention to one of the boys that I was training that we needed some sparring, and this kid straight away put his hand up and volunteered, and I said, mate, you just can't come in like that and spar these blokes, and he said, I'll give it a go, and I thought to myself, gee, this kid's cocky, and it all started from that day.
Fenech's rise up the pro ranks began with him pounding Bobby Williams at the Marrickville RSL. For his first 5 fights, Fenech was a club fighter. Then he met Bill Morty.
It was all by chance. Colin Love, who was my solicitor at the time, was acting as a manager for Fenech. And I visited his home at Coogee one day, and instead of showing me baby photos, he showed me a video of Fenech. And when I saw it, I realised, there was a super athlete.
The night after Anzac Day 1985 at Sydney's Hordern Pavilion, Fenech hammered Japan's Satoshi Shingaki on Morty's first big boxing show. The IBF bantamweight champ was all target. The same night Fenech was mauling Shingaki, Lester Ellis was trying to contain a Filipino volcano named Rod Sequenin in Melbourne. 2 Australians fighting for world titles on the same night. Australian boxing had never produced such success, but Ellis was more interested in self-preservation than history.
I've been boxing 19 years, about 115 fights up to date, amateur and pro, and that was the only fight I was in bed for a good 5 days after. I was he was a great fighter.
The future looked brilliant for Australia's boxing boy wonders, but they took different paths.
Lester was the first of the modern era, really, to win a world championship. He got his before Fenech.
You can teach someone how to kick off football, you can teach someone how to play cricket, you can teach someone how to throw a punch, but you can't teach a young man how to handle success.
Bill Morty knew the game well and kept Fenech away from danger men for a while. To boost his confidence, Fenech got a rematch with Shingaki. While Fenech was learning the ropes under Morty's care, Ellis was thrown to the wolves, or, at least to an old fox, Barry Michael. Michael squeezed himself below the 59-kilo junior lightweight limit for the first time in a decade. Once the bell rang, he was on Lester's chest and in his ear.
Even when I heard him, he kept talking to me. He spoke for the whole 15 rounds. I think in the 3rd round I tagged him with a nice left uppercut right hand, and I heard him, he said to me, my mother punches harder than you, because don't waste too much energy, there's 12 rounds to go yet.
Despite breaking Michael's nose, Ellis couldn't break the old man's spirit. When the decision was announced, it was no surprise.
The new IBF World Junior Lightweight Champion.
The only surprise for Lester was the reaction of his mates.
I had many friends that I've had for 10 years that I respected that wouldn't even give me a phone call or wouldn't even say to me, oh, geez, bad luck, but you tried your best. And I thought, well, what's going on here?
61 kilograms for Lester Ellis.
Lester was never the same fighter again, even though he remained a dangerous puncher for the next 10 years. Barry Michael held on to his world title until America's Rocky Lockridge ended his career in London in 1987. Michael had waited 12 long years to become world champion, yet despite the battle scars, he's a survivor.
I'm substantially deaf on the left side, deaf on the right side, but not as bad as the left. I've had plastic surgery over both eyes. I've had probably 300 stitches, I think, over my eyes. My nose was broken by Leicester, then in the nightclub, then by Lockridge. and once by the physician to fix it, so that busted 4 times. Broken left hand, but come out of it pretty well otherwise.
Fenech's run of easy opponents ended against the formidable Jerome Coffey and Daniel Zaragoza. In July 1986, he was ready for Olympic revenge. His opponent here, Steve McCrory, won the gold medal Fenech had been denied in LA. Victory for Fenech came only after he won his biggest battle to make the 54-kilo bantamweight limit.
I believe that if I didn't fight Steve McCrory and beat him, that, or when I had the chance to fight him, if I didn't beat him, that the people would have thought, well, maybe I never would have won a gold medal.
Fenech created history in May 1987 when he won his second world title, beating WBC super bantamweight champ Samat Payakaroon. Payakaroon was a national treasure in Thailand, and his managers wagered his entire purse of $175,000 American dollars.
The only one they'd trust to hold the money was myself. And one of the guys working for us, Michael Dan, who's a well-known character in Sydney, said to me, why don't we bet them ourselves? And I said, Mick, it's quite simple, because we can't pay. He said, well, if Fenech gets beat, we're finished anyway. So he said, we could go to Katoomba and wait until they've gone. I said, yeah, but they'd come back. You know, they might find us with the 3 sisters. And you know, when they finish with us, we might be 4 and 5 sisters, because I don't think we'd be left intact.
For the next 2 years, Fenech was unstoppable, taking on the world's best and making them look second-rate. Greg Richardson, who went on to win the world bantamweight title, was tossed around like a yo-yo. And Carlos Cerati, who'd beaten Paul Ferreri, went out in 4 rounds. Puerto Rican Victor Callejas was force-fed leather as Fenech won his 3rd title, the WBC featherweight crown. In the mid-1970s, English heavyweight Joe Bugner had been good enough to go